Oh,
So Kim, how long do we have?
now,
An hour. Oh, thanks.
Sure.
it's
No,
helping
okay.
too.
I got questions. I know. So how long do you
I'll
need?
be, I'll be spending the next.
Okay, yeah, that works.
There's a Q&A.
Right,
Let's
Yeah.
see you.
you're good. 30, 45 minutes? Okay,
Just, wow.
good.
Oh, you're doing it with the podium?
So professional.
Are you on the panel, David?
Oh, yes. I thought we were doing it like,
Oh,
let's do it like,
okay.
like,
You can see how well prepared we are.
actually, we haven't practiced this, so be patient.
This is for Allison.
Allison, you wanna come on up?
What else? That's what.
Allison does not like speaking.
Okay, so we're Bob and David. We've been around a while. You can tell from our hair or no hair or lack of hair.
So
And
I have a question for everybody. Somebody give me some definitions of professionalism. Just give me some ideas of what you think about when you say next level professionalism in real estate.
Oh.
Very good. That's definitely. Be shy. This is going to be interactive, whether you like it or not. Communication. Integrity. That's the number one.
That makes sense.
Yes. From the tech. Okay. Anything else? Believe it or not, yes, I think that's really important.
we'll talk about that actually.
We are. And do you have any
Being courteous and kind.
patient? Curious?
What do you expect on the other side of the table when you go to listing appointment? Well, not on the listing, but when you're doing a transaction with another agent. That's that's a good point, Jerry, because I got people's names in my phone, agents, so I don't take their calls because like
What did you say to me?
That means fine.
I mean, these are not only professional, they're courteous. So, courtesy in business. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. So we wrote down two words that kind of bounce off of embrace and differentiate. So when you were growing up, you know, like if you were on a little league team, a basketball team, a cheerleading squad, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever, there was rules in place or there was things that they taught you to do and liked it. Great. If you didn't, you need to move on. You need to embrace things. So I came from a corporate background, and so there were things I did in the corporate world that I do totally different now as a real estate agent because I'm in business for myself. Does that make sense? So I learned from my corporate experience. I learned from my military experience, but when I got into the real estate world, it was a whole different thing. And we all fly under the Keller Williams umbrella. But at the end of the day, we're in business for ourselves. We all agree with that. So that's how we're going to talk about it. So, Bob, I'm going to kick it off with things we talked about. So, if you want to know where you're going to be in 5 years, it'll be based on these three things. And the three things are the people you associate with, the media you listen to, and the books you read. So, let's talk about people you associate with. So, we all have, you know, everybody knows we have a coaching program here and one coaches. We have a coaching program. There's not one agent that's seasoned in this office that's not willing to mentor or help somebody or answer a question. So, Bob, you want to talk some about association?
Well, I mean, you mentioned this a second ago, and what you don't want to be is that agent people are elected. So when you associate yourself with people who are high-level thinkers, who are trained, who are knowledgeable, and you want to emulate that, that's how you're going to create a career worth having. We talked about this. Jerry, how long have you been in
40 years.
40 years. Okay, Jerry's been in business 40 years, and I promise you, anybody that's going to work with Jerry is going to know this guy's super knowledgeable. Anybody that's ever worked with him before already knows that. Okay, and then he's going to extend that reputation out every time he does a deal with somebody. You want to be able to be one of those people that other agents know they can count. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we get to loggerheads with other people sometimes, and how destructive that is to your own business, stressful, etc. But the people you associate with, I don't know who it was that said it, but it's a true fact that you rise to the level of the people that you associate. 5 people.
That is so true. So, you just think about it. Even when you're parenting, you want your children to run with people that are they're going to stretch them, take them to the next level or whatever, instead of how am I trying to say this? Running with
I'll give you an
mediocre.
example.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of exactly what you're talking about. This reminded me of my son. When my son was in middle school, he was in band. He was played a piano and he played in a group. They just used our basement. We're trying to get their band going. And I happened to perceive that there were a couple guys in this group that weren't the guys I wanted to be around. But if you're a parent, you can't go to your kids and go, you can't hang around with them. That's going to create a struggle. But what I did say to him is, cool thing about friends is you get to pick and choose who they are, who your friends are. He made a decision based on that to not hang out with those 2 guys. It, I believe, changed the course of his interaction in his time in school, because he then, not by my pushing him, hung around with different people. He got into the ROTC program. He became very disciplined. He had a lot of direction. It's the same thing when you're dealing with, now, this is a sensitive subject. There are people that you hang around with on a regular basis that you might not want to hang around with, or hang around with them less, have less effect from them on you, because they may be the people who are bringing you down, who are negative, who are not doing the right thing all the time. You don't want that kind of exposure. Does that
No, that is it. So, I know in the corporate world, when I transitioned out of the military into the corporate world, in the military it's a big camaraderie and got each other's back. When I got in the corporate world, it was a different world. And so, when I first started at Equifax, so my whole department would go on break at the same time. So now that you're self-employed, sidetrack, taking breaks. But back in the corporate world, we're structured. But anyway, we'd all sit at the table. So when Bob got up and left, the whole table would talk about Bob. Then when Joe got up and left, they'd talk about Joe. I never wanted to be the next person that left the table. It was just crazy, and I realized then these people weren't taking me where I wanted to go. And so that's when I started shifting. So now we're going to shift into books. So there's been several books, and I put them in this box, and that have been life-changing. Because I would rather learn it from a book than for Jerry to say, David, the way you said that, it's really not right. I'd rather read it in the book and say, oh man, I say it like that all the time. I don't need to change it. That makes sense? So
how many books does the average real estate agent per year? This is statistical information. This is from surveys.
boy, that's a high number.
A lot less.
Still.
You were so kind to think agents read that once a month, right?
What was the requirement?
1 book a year on average. Okay. And I kind of think that might be an idea. Because I know a lot of people who don't read any books in their trade at all. And I'm not just talking about real estate, I'm talking about trade organizations. Okay. So if you read 2 books a year, you'd be doing 200% better than the rest of the people. If you're not a reader, there's Audible. Okay. I like having the book, but well, go ahead and talk about the book. Go ahead and talk about
Okay, so
we'll come back to that.
several years ago, there was a group of us, uh, of like-minded agents in this office, and so we formed a book club. And so every 2 weeks we get together and do a book. So some of these books that I'm going to talk about are that. So we kind of kept it to a small group, so it's manageable.
We don't read a book every 2 weeks, just to be clear.
We don't read a book every 2 weeks, but we read a book and then we assign pages that we're going to read.
Right.
And then we discuss that book. And then we also fellowship. So we meet from like 6 to 9 or 6 to 8:30 or whatever, every 2 weeks. One of us brings a covered dish bill, or not a covered dish, but one of us brings a bill. So first hour is catching up, bouncing real estate, talking, this transaction, that transaction. And then the next hour and a half, we discuss the book until we finish that book. And then we take several weeks off and then we'll pick up another book. But we all pick the book. But if you struggle with reading, that might be something you want to do, is to create a book club small enough in number that it's manageable. So ours is 7 people. So 7 people. And so, and then you're committed, because if you don't read, Ann Sepko's going to call you out and she's not very kind.
And she doesn't cut any slack. You
So-
don't get your homework done, she's gonna tell you about it.
Because
I don't like to read, so if I gotta read, y'all gotta read.
so it's an accountability thing that the pages that are, we got 56 pages to read, you got to come to the table having read those 56 pages. So thus introduce Audible, because when you're in your car, we're in our car a lot. So we've all kind of downloaded that app so you can read it as well as listen to it driving. Then Allison taught me about podcasts, because I hadn't listened to a lot of podcasts, but Allison listens to a lot of podcasts. So you can listen to podcasts on a particular subject. So
This all comes back to, I don't know who it said educating yourself, but educating yourself to your trade. Making specific to what you do.
So Bob, this book,
Oh,
you like this book.
okay, so Joy has to live with it. She's committed to that, so I'm holding her to it. This is Joy, this is where my savers came. So we read this book, and I don't know if everybody loved it as I do. I think all of us use parts of it. Sure. I know you and David do this at a high level with affirmation. But this book is all about how you start your day. And he has a hybrid examples of doing it. But mostly he's talking about starting your day off with something that is going to motivate you and give you some peace. And he has these things called savers. And savers is just an acronym for a practice in the morning. So it's silence, it's affirmations, visualization, it's what is it?
Oh, jeez.
I do it because I do it every
Hand
morning.
it to me while you're
I
talking.
don't do all
So you get the point. It's favors is I actually have it on my computer at home. Exercise. Sorry, yeah. You can tell I do that a lot. Actually, I do that a lot. But it's a morning ritual that you get into that literally takes less than half an hour. Okay? If you can make it an hour, you can make it a half an hour, you can make it 15 minutes. But what it is it's a way to get your day started. And he talks about the benefits of it. I have personally seen benefits. David does the affirmations I love, and I know Ann does too. And David has seen great results. So
let's talk about that for a minute. So that is a thought that I got from the book. Actually, all these have a common thread, and we'll hold up these books at some point. But affirmations. We read a book last fall, so it was October of 23, and the book was called Ninja Sales. So in that book, there was a chapter or two on affirmations. So and one of the questions it asked you was write down a financial goal that you would like to obtain, and then now multiply that, I think by 5 or by 10 or whatever, and how do you feel? Well, if you feel uneasy, then you need to be doing affirmations. Okay, so because it needs to stretch you. So if you think, okay, I'm a new agent, I'm going to make $50,000 this year. Does $50,000 really stretch you? No, maybe. But then if you change that to 150,000, if you see what I'm saying, it's like it stretched you. So our businesses go up and down, up and down. So last year my business went down, and so I did like 4.6 million or whatever, and to be in the $1 million club on the commercial side, we have to do 5 million, and it just crushed me because I didn't make it last year. So so anyway, I started doing these affirmations. So I think I started out saying, I enjoy achieving $15 million in sales volume each year. So that was a big stretch. This year? This year I should close out the year between from 4.6.
Okay, so let's talk about I want to say this one thing, one word, mindset.
So so you write it, a simple statement, and you write it 25 to 30 times. I do mine at night. The members of our book club do it in the mornings. It doesn't matter. You just need to do it where it's top of mind. So I do it every night. This is what I do every night. This is my routine. It's about a 45 minutes to an hour deal. So I'll do my affirmations 30 times on it. I bought a thick composition book. So I'll date it and do my affirmations. So let's just say, I enjoy earning $15 million a year real estate. And I just write that 30 times. Then I'll do a gratitude. I got a section for gratitude. Then I'll do whatever I'm thankful to happen that day. You know, how did God bless me this day, or what did I do this day that I'm thankful for? Who did I bump into that I'm thankful I had to talk to, or something. Just a simple gratitude. And then I used to try to read the Bible cover to cover each year, January 1st. And what I found was that I was just reading words to get to that goal. Anybody relate to that? And I wasn't really comprehending as much as I was checking off that block that, okay, I got through that. So I changed it. So now I just do a chapter, or maybe more, depends on whatever, but I'll do a chapter until I comprehend that chapter. So I do my affirmations, I do my gratitude, and I'll do a chapter out of the Bible until I thoroughly understand. So I might read that same chapter tomorrow. But once I got it, and then I'm comfortable if I ever discuss it. Does that make sense? So I've taken that pressure off, but anyway, it's kind of a commitment to me, and so it's so ingrained in me now that I have fallen asleep on the couch. Anybody going home and sit down after dinner? Yeah, Sammy's got it. So I've done it, but now when that happens, it doesn't happen that often. But when I do it, I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know I still got to do my affirmations, so it's so ingrained in me because I feel guilty about it. So anyway, every month, I changed, I'm sorry, Bob,
That's okay, I want,
every month I change over. So the first of every month, so I just changed over, to a new one, December 1st. So,
me too, because you reminded me.
so anyway, so I said 15 million. Dara challenged me to change it 20 million. 20 million, Jerry, was a stretch. I remember bridge too far. Dara said you need to make it 20 million. I compromised it to 18 million. So, and now, hopefully, if everything closes through, what did you say?
I said, and then you did 28.
And now, or will be.
So what I'm coming back to around with this scenario, I love this because it is all about your mindset. This goes back to professionalism too, and I'm gonna tag a little bit on to this with the mindset thing because have y'all ever been frustrated with an agent on the other end? Have y'all ever wanted to cuss them out? Jim wanted to cuss somebody out yesterday, and I was sitting there with him when we were talking about it. Huh? Answer that. Okay, but here's what we talked about. This is what we talked about. The mindset part of this is know that that is going to happen. Know that that's going to happen. Know that there are going to be times that you have to do both halves of the deal, or at least parts of their half. Okay? Just know that's going to happen, and work through that, and keep your frustration and anger down to a minimum, and just know that you work for your client. Whether that person's doing their part of the job or not, you work for your client. And having this kind of grateful mindset, the mindset that you're going to make this money, the fact that you're staying level with your attitude is going to help you through those times. Because that is going to happen. I told David about it at the time when I got really frustrated with an agent. I hadn't. And my assistant came in and said, why do we have to do everybody's side of the deal? And I said, just get used to it. It's going to happen. You got to deal with it. Sometimes when the market gets good, people get in the business that really should probably be riding sanitation truck or something where they don't have to think about it. Not a professional statement. And the guy heard me. So he called me. He actually emailed me. And so I said, show me. He said he was a professional. I said, show me. That deal was rough all the way through. But I was prepared for it. I knew it was going to happen. My assistant at the time, now she understands that that's me. And we just worked through the deal for our client because that's who we represent. If you don't have the right mindset for that, you're not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be a frustrating, stressful experience.
Okay, so let me just throw a little tidbit. Okay, so you're brand new. Lexus, you're brand new. Oh, yeah. 2024. 2014, I was on the person who in collection. Was a film at your islands, $3. So I would get up in the morning, be at the islands at 6, hotel there, Christmas there. I always look at my little cell phone. I was a bellman from 6 in the morning till 10, come home and take a shower, then I'd go cold call, which is a horrible thing to do because I was so insecure. And pulling a door handle and getting out and walking an office park or business park or whatever was so intimidating. But that's how I built my business, was learning to discipline myself that I'd have 20 meaningful conversations a day before I go home. And day is like that. So when I look back, I remember laying on my bed and looking at the ceiling and saying, Lord, take me. You know, I'm a failure. I'm a failure to my family. Failure, you know, and can't handle this. Give me a heart attack. Give me something. Take me out. Regardless. And he'd already given me a heart attack several years earlier because I was stressed out too. So I did. I had a heart attack driving my kids home from school. So anyway, I'm just telling you, you got to focus on the big picture. It doesn't matter what everybody else around you is doing. This is what I taught our kids. Hey, you know what? We're not better than anybody else. Never. We're not better than anybody else. God made us all the same. However, you can differentiate yourself from the other person by just doing a little bit more. And that's what Bob and I are talking about. Associating the books, listening to seminars, podcasts, or whatever, asking questions. So this is not just real estate, it's life. So
And there are some other things I'm going to tag on. I'm going to read down a list that we put together separately, but there's so many things that parallel each other that when we started this. So we're talking about professionalism. Right now, we're talking about the mindset. We're talking about becoming professional by learning your business, by educating yourself, by understanding how to interact with. Those things are critically important in this business. This is a service business and it's a people business. It's not I love houses and I love people, so I'm going to be really good at this. This is a practice. This is something you have to get better at year over year over year. I can promise you that the things I did in 1988 are not the same things the way I would handle that. Number one, the business has evolved, but number two, I'm just a lot more knowledgeable, a lot more seasoned, and I've educated myself how to handle certain situations. So it's a practice in this business. I believe I'm going to tell you what I believe in. Here are a few things that this will be sort of off this topic of mindset, but it's some of the professionalism that I think we as an industry need to practice. Dress better than your client. Okay. I've seen agents go show houses where the homeowner or another person thought that the agent was the buyer and the buyer was the agent. Okay. Dress better than your client. Doesn't mean you have to wear tux. If the guy wears a suit, wear a suit. If he's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, dress professionally. Somebody said that about hygiene, and I think that goes right along with it. Be learning and training based. This is what we talked about. Get 1% better every day. Read. If you read, I'm serious. This is a sad statistic. If you read 2 books, you're reading 2 more books than most real estate agents out there. If you get Audible and you learn through that, you could do a dozen books without a problem. Make sure they're topical. Make sure they're things that you need to work on. Learn about leadership. This is something I think that you do a lot. I know I'm a talker. My book club cringes sometimes when you start talking. They're like, okay, keep it short, Bob. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen. Be curious. Ask questions. Talk less than you listen. Especially, and I think you had this in your, you called that one.
time of possession.
Yeah, time of possession. Okay. So I thought that was really good. Time of possession. Just need to listen more than you talk. Ask good questions and then listen. Understand your people. Everybody knows what the code of ethics is? Okay, we have to do that every 4 years, right? But no, it's every 3 years. It's every 3 years. Well, no, we have to do it. We have to do the law part every 4 years, and code of ethics every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes. So code of ethics, you got to do that every 2 years, and there's a reason for it, so that you understand how to treat the public and other agents, because that's what the code of ethics is all about. Treat people like you want to. We talked about, this is another way of saying go the extra step. Have y'all ever gotten a contract on a listing that you had where only their stuff is filled out on the contract? Like they leave your information off of the contract? Drives me insane. If I offered on a listing that Maggie had, all of Maggie's information and my information would. It's a courtesy. It's a professional courtesy. Right? don't make it hard for the other people. You'll be a lot more attractive to them in the next time. Because they don't have to fill stuff out. It's not just the contract, it's just everything in general. Just go the extra step.
In a multiple offer situation, that could make a difference.
Absolutely.
You know, I look at that. I look for the professionalism in an offer.
Absolutely.
And if it's just scratch or halfway filled out, then I'm going to rely heavily because I know how the whole. I think it's the way the whole deal's going to go.
Okay, so that is a really good statement. People indicate how they're going to work with you by things like that.
The little thing.
It's the little things. Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy with contracts. Okay, nothing more frustrating than having to call the person and ask them, saying, "What are you talking about?" Like, if there's something, the stipulation needs to be put in there. Don't just say XYZ stays with the house. Explain it. Okay? Explain what that means, or make the call. I love what you said in here, David, about he said in here on his notes, he said he related this to a football. He said your helmet, your playbook is in your helmet. Okay, practice how to present, practice how to write contracts. So what we keep saying here is practice, learn, educate. If you're working with someone and they know that you know your stuff, it's going to put them at ease. You're going to have a much easier time really working with, representing your client if they know that you know your stuff. I just hijacked you, so I just
No, that was good. Okay, so, Allison, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I taught you this right when you started it. Okay, and you could probably recite it if I actually put up the statement in the chair. But I'm not gonna do that.
Come on up, Allison.
Our job as real estate agents comes down to two simple statements. Okay. And if you can stay within these two simple statements, you'll be successful. And even I struggle with this because I tend to overgive, which is not a bad thing, but here's the statement. Our job is just to bring buyer and seller together. It's not to run around and figure out things in their due diligence. Because when you run around and do their things in due diligence and something you miss or whatever, because you took ownership of running that, chasing that rabbit, and it fails, then they're going to come back to you and say, Jerry, you didn't get that from me. Right? Have you ever had, you know what I'm talking about? So, we bring buyer and seller together, and they might say, well, do you think that I can do this business at this building? Well, it's zoned this. You may want to go down to the city or the county, the planning and zoning office, and ask that question. Can you do what you're doing? Okay. So, and then for us, because we do a lot of this, is so we bring buyer and seller together, and we bring landlord and tenant together. Okay. That's it. So one time, I did this office building, and the guy said, hey, the tenant was unrepresented. I represented the landlord. And he said, the tenant said, I'm so busy. Do you know anybody that can do the construction work, whatever? The build out. So I go to the seller or the landlord, and he said, well, so-and-so's done this a lot or whatever. You might call him. So anyway, I linked him up with this guy, and he did a horrible job, and it was all my fault. You understand? Because I'm just trying to fix him up or whatever, trying to help him. So, so be careful on what rabbits you chase in the name of helping. I don't want to come across as saying you should be helpful. You just need to.
Jason calls it being the source of the source. Be the source of the source.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Somebody tells you something, you say, this is what this person told me, or give them a few different names, let them make that decision. Yeah, give them options.
because what starts out as a friendly transaction, they'll turn on you in a heartbeat when it goes negative. Trust me. Okay. Here's one that I'm going to put it back to you, Bob. But when you show up on an appointment, don't show up with a pad of paper and your pen. I always show up with something professional like this, okay? Then you can pull this out like I've done, but you wanna look the part. You know, this is not your first rodeo, so you don't wanna just have, you wanna look like you're seasoned, right? Well,
I mean, you want to give, your client should have confidence in you. Okay? If you're doing your job right, they will have confidence in you. And part of that is, okay, I'll give you an example. I started using this right after Stacy DeRogatis. We were in a big mastermind and there was a bunch of agents that were doing high volume. Stacy said, one of the things that she does is she carries a really nice portfolio of printed pages, which we've kind of gotten away from that a lot. She carried this really nice, it was a folder that had 3 or 4 sections in it. And she had documents inside that. Do you remember? I think you were there when she was talking about it. But she said she closed a deal with a builder. Who does Bobby work for? Veritas. She closed a deal with Veritas. It was her buyer, and Veritas was the seller. And Veritas was so impressed by how organized she was with her paperwork that they hired her. She did a ton of business through Veritas because Veritas, Bobby, is his last name me?
No, Hughes.
Bobby Hughes is one of their builders. Went and talked so highly of Stacy that they approached her and said, "We'd like you to do our listing." I don't know how many years was she there? She was there a lot of years, doing a lot of.
I would say 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so she did a lot of business through Veritas because she came in confident, prepared, and she looked the part. Remember, most of the people you deal with, this is their largest financial investment, their risk that they're going to take, and you cannot show up in shorts and a black t-shirt. Okay, I've seen agents do it. I've actually seen attorneys do it, which didn't throw me.
With an Elvis t-shirt.
Yes, we won't name any names, but I was the broker of a big building company at the time, and when I saw that, I did our closing and we did our thing, and then I went back in there and said, "What the hell? I make people use you. You can't show up like it." Okay? It did not give the buyers confidence in this guy or in me, but okay. So I was talking about going the extra step. Have any of you ever shown a house and then you get feedback requests from the agent that listed the house? Please, for the love of God, give feedback. Take the 2 minutes and give feedback. Oh, the way I set mine up is that when I get feedback, my seller sees it immediately. Okay, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not good. But the point is that it's a professional courtesy. We're talking about how you interact with other agents, and this is a professional courtesy that ought to be law, in my opinion. I have to chase people around. Would you say that's true, Ian? I mean, I have an automatic feedback request that goes out 3 times after the agent shows on my listing. I cannot tell you, I would say it's more than 50% of the time. I have to then begin to email and call them. That's absurd. The agents that give me feedback, I get a really good feeling about those because that's a professional courtesy. It should be protocol. Okay?
Even experience in it, right?
Yeah.
I'm always like, hey, so that property,
Yeah.
sure that tenant has to pay.
Sure. Find out what it is.
Why don't you?
It helps me to know if there's any consistency in the issues that these buyers are seeing in this house. If I get one person that says, "I don't like the color of that room," or, I think the carpet needs replacing, or, I didn't like the way the house sat on the lot. Those are preferences. Maybe not preferences, but preferences. If I get the same thing over and over and over again, carpet needs change, carpet needs change, carpet needs change, carpet needs change, I think we got to talk to the seller about changing the carpet. Creating a lot. Yes, it helps me to help my client. And it's because you guys helped me. Okay? We all want the same thing in the end, right? We all want to go to closing. We all want a happy, jovial, laughing at the closing, having fun, high fiving, congratulations, that kind of. Here's one of my number one that agents fail to do, and I think we provide a lot of opportunity to do this in this particular office. Is who is the focal point of the transaction on the buyer and seller side? Who said that? Listing agent and the buyer's agent. You are the people who talk. You are the people, you are the conduit, you are the liaison between all the rest of the parties. So my suggestion to you is build your team. You are the person who is the team leader, and that means pest control company, inspection company, painters. You get my point? You should have a list of vendors that you are the team leader of. When your buyer says, I need this or I need that, or you're preparing your seller to put the house on the market, you're the team leader. Build that team. Have this already ready. Okay, we give you a list of vendors that are vetted that we know. You may have people that you love, but make sure you are the team leader. So again, you are a professional providing services.
And
Okay.
value.
And value, absolutely. Okay.
Well, we're gonna wrap up with this because we're about out of time. I just wanna, reiterate, or I hadn't said this, but personal handwritten notes are another differentiator between you and the other person. And not just try to personalize it to something that relates to them or they can resonate with, whatever. So, back when I got started and then I was pulling that door handle and instantly perspiring because I didn't know what I was going to say. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to make this thing work. Jason asked me one time, he says, what was it, David? What flipped your switch? What made you do this? My comment at the time was, I just want to be one below Aaron Sutcliffe. And he said, no, seriously. He said, what was it? And I said, my wife told me I couldn't do this. My mentoring uncle told me I couldn't do this. My friends told me you don't belong in sales. I had collections calling me 6 months from losing our house. I was a bellman that when I saw my college classmates come check in at Lake Lanier Islands at that hotel, I was just like devastated because it's like, wow, you've really done well since you graduated. You're a bellman. Not that anything's wrong with being a bellman, but it's character building. But you just got. So I said to myself, okay, I got to make this work this way. I told Jason said, what was it? There was a movie back in the day, and most of y'all are so young you don't remember, but it was an officer and a gentleman, and Richard Gere was the guy going through flight school or basic training or whatever. And I could relate to that because I've been out telling Bob and Allison stories. But he said, Lou Gossett was saying, quit, drop on request, quit. He's in his face, quit. And he said this one line, I can't quit, drill sergeant. And I told that to Jason, and Jason said, chill bump something. I had where else to set up with some mentoring uncle. I was going to prove it, so I put 20 business cards in my pocket, and I left the house and didn't get part of that. And that's how I did it.
That's commitment.
I did it. It took 6 months to get it, like 6 months. But I wasn't one. And so, and then I was with another company, and I was checking out Keller Williams, and I was sitting right back there where Allison said, and I would come into here because I was checking this place out, And for like 6 months, I'd come and I'd sit where she said, for team meetings like this, and I'd gain the knowledge. And then I wouldn't talk to anybody. But I kept coming. And then I went to my first family reunion. I wouldn't even eat it. So I was just saying, could this be as good as it seems? And to me, Keller Williams is as good as it seems. I mean, there's some hiccups along the way. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfect. But anyway, so I came out of there saying, I'm going to make it work. So I leave you with personal notes that resonate, and then affirmations and stuff Bob and I talked about in the books or whatever. But when I would come to these meetings, sit there, Bob Hartwell sit right over here around where Allison sat. Every week he would say something, some kind of wisdom. Man,
Must have been reading the book.
I want to get to know that guy. And I was too insecure to come up.
Association.
So,
Remember association.
so anyway, all right, we got a little
I'm
long.
gonna leave you with 2 things real fast. One is, this is a business. I say this all the time, and I don't mean it to be derogatory, but liking houses and liking people, Gary and I talked about. You've got to treat it like a business. It's you. You got to run it. You got to work at it. Okay? You can work as little. You can work smart. You can work hard. You can work hard and smart. But when you get to that place where you're now in business and you're really gliding along, it's a beautiful place to be. You know, my clients support me. This is my 37th year in the business. My clients support me because of the things we're talking about. And I know you have a huge past client sphere of influence that supports her too. I'll say it's your business. Build it, practice it, ask questions, learn. If you want to learn, if you want a good book to start with, if you're not a reader.
I read that one.
I know you did. The 161 pages. In my opinion, this is one of the best books you can read because it talks about small victories, compounding victory, doing a little at a time, building on it every day, just making it simple. This is such an easy read and it's so brilliant. This is to date one of my top 5 books that I've ever read as far as how to just get things done. So if you guys have any questions, I think somebody said this. Oh, somebody said it in here. There are always people. Oh, you said it. He's very wise. There are people in this place that will help. Take advantage of it. Okay, that's what Keller Williams is really all about. Very quick story on my first family reunion. I'd been here like 2 weeks. I went to family reunion in New Orleans, and at the time we had like, I don't know, 15 or 16 people there. And we'd been in class all day, and the group decided to go to dinner. So we all went out to dinner. We're at this big, long table, and it just ran and down. And Jerry Robertson sat straight across from me. And then we had a lot of agents who are still here at the dinner table. And one of the people said, hey, I got an idea. Let's share one of our biggest ahas, one of the best things we've learned today. And so Jerry Robertson started it, went around and went around. I'm sitting there on the other side. Now, keep in mind, at that point in time, I had already been to business school. I just watched this. People are going, oh, I got this thing. You got to do this. Here, take this email down. Here's this phone number. These are some great programs, all the way down to me. And I was so flabbergasted that my big aha, we said, what's your big aha, Bob? Because I was new. I said, this. The fact that we do this in this place, that you share all of these secrets and all of these systems and all of these ways of doing business, that doesn't happen in the rest of the real estate world. It's very rare. So take advantage of the fact that Keller Williams is a team-oriented place of high-mindedness.
I just want to add one thing. If you're a newer agent, don't be afraid to ask for help from your co-op agent. Because I would rather know from the beginning that, hey, if you need help, I'm there to help you. and you can still represent your client. But I want to help show you the way, and it'll be a smoother deal. Don't try to be a super mega agent that you're not. But if you're that agent, go ahead and tell the other agent, hey, could you help me out on this? I'm kind of stuck, or maybe I've only been in the business a little while, or something like that. Don't be ashamed of it at all, because I know a lot of the people that I know that have been here a while. They and we are more than happy to help you. We would love the opportunity to help you and maybe teach you something. And again, maybe in the end you end up with a recruit or something. But I love helping people on those newer agents. My God, let us know that. And we got to work as a team. You got to represent your client, and we can still do that. But we also have to work as a team to close this transaction.
I've actually asked people to work, if I was looking for business numbers, I think that's an indication. Because there are some really bright, very innovative, very cool, very committed people looking at you like Dariel, or well, I mean, there are people who are new in this business that are teaching these things. So it's a synergy. And I would love it if they would say, look, I'm really new at this contract stuff. Did I do this right? I'm all about help. So that's a really good.
So anybody got any quick questions or whatever, or what Bob and I can hang around for exactly? Well, I hope this made sense. Hope it helped you in some way, or just took one nugget or whatever.
And they thought it's amazing thing wrong. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's right. As a matter of fact, they built that thing based on donations from agents who have read a lot of books.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, go read it, bring it back, get another one.
I'm glad you mentioned the compound effect though, because, I've heard several times and I've never picked up the book to read it. I just ordered it
Yeah.
on.
that is.
Good.
I read a lot of my books that way now, but
Yeah.
when I first